Isn't it great to be eternal?
We wouldn't have it any other way.
Do we co-create with mosquitoes too?
Yes. Yes.
And I would rather not do that.
Then never mention their name again.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Well, how do you take something out of your vibrational pattern? How do you omit something? How do you stop a vibration that you've got going? And so, what's at the heart of a vibration like that? What is it about?
Expectation.
Say again?
Expectation.
But even be a little more specific.
Well, they feed on us. Sort of, it sounds like a law of nature that you cannot escape.
Well, there you are then. So you walk around, I'm the one. I was born to feed the mosquitoes. And just like the cat that found our friend, the mosquitoes do find you.
Thought of that.
And you know that. That's why people like to travel with you, because you draw the mosquitoes. It's true.
Exactly.
And some would say, oh, it's because she's fair-skinned or because. But a mosquito is a vibrational being too.
Yes.
So are we really saying that you have personal control over the way that you interface with everyone and everything? Yes. So can you feel how you practice your vibration because you are responding to conditions? Jerry used to argue with us a little bit. He'd say, I don't think that I had that expectation before I had that experience. In other words, I think the experience trained my expectation. And we say, well, there was an expectation prior to that experience that was in the mix. But as we said earlier, sometimes you're not sensitive enough to know because you're looking for bigger signs.
Yes.
You're looking for bigger signs. A mosquito's a bigger sign.
Oh, well, they are.
And there are bigger signs than mosquitoes as well.
Don't go there.
Well, we were talking about that. So sensitivity to the way you feel. So Jerry argued, I don't think that I expected it before it happened, but once it happened, then I began to expect it. And so let's just start there. Let's say that that's a valid premise, only let's speak it with more validity. I was unaware of my expectation before the momentum of my expectation became great enough that there was a manifestation that I could witness. Don't you like that? Seems like the conversation we've been having here today, doesn't it? So it's your sensitivity to your expectation that you're wanting to be aware of. I want to be aware of what I'm emanating. I want to be aware of what I'm vibrating. I want to be aware of what I'm expecting. As Esther wrote over, the hotel has provided for her this really, 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 these are her words, adorable little car, a smart car that brings her from one end of the resort to the other so that her hair will look good for you. And so she slipped into the car with this lovely man, and as they were riding over, he said, I expected to be the one to get to be with you in this way. And Esther said, expect is my favorite word. And he said, why? And Esther said, because in expectation, there is desire and belief. They are all rolled together. And then Esther said to him, if you have a desire that you don't believe, it doesn't happen. But when you have a desire that you do believe, expectation. So expectation is everything. So you have to decide, am I going to let conditions train my expectation? Because there are a lot of conditions. You've been trained to be very objective. You've been trained to weigh the pros and the cons. The other day, Esther sat with something that she was trying to figure out what to do, and she actually drew a line down the middle of the page and wrote pro and con. And she tried to do a pro and con list, and her brain fried into a knot. She could hardly hold the pen in her hand. She said she felt like she had a dog's paw trying to hold the pen. It was so backwards from the flow that she is used to. In other words, when you begin considering what you don't want on purpose and try to put it in position with what you do want, there is a throwing of resistance onto your trail that is completely unnecessary. So how does one improve one's expectation? You almost can't hit it head on, because when you do, law of attraction is going to add momentum to whatever it is that you're focused upon. So you have to step way back into the most general footing and ask yourself what you want and why you want it. So let's walk through this. This is a good conversation to have. Do you agree? Yes. So let's walk through this. So take some point in time where you are aware that you are having an experience that you don't want to have, and you mean to do something about it. So describe that situation.
Well, it's hot in the room. I don't want to put a lot of blankets over me. So
I don't want to.
Yes.
Is there a negative expectation attached to that?
Yes.
What is it?
Well, if I lay there in the nude, the mosquitoes would come.
So. That wasn't the question we asked, but apparently it was the answer you wanted to give. So, why do you not want the blankets over you? Because it's hot?
It's hot.
In the most general sense, what is it that you don't want? I don't want to be uncomfortable. What is it that you do want? I want to be comfortable.
Comfortable, well-being. I want to sleep well. I want to love where I am. I love to relish where I am. I actually love the warm weather. I love the humidity of this area here.
So, do you take issue with others who share your planet, or is it just mosquitoes? And what we're getting at is there's this expectation, there's this belief that you hold that goes like this. There are others out there meaning to satisfy their intention, and this mosquito or these mosquitoes represent that. So there are others out there meaning to satisfy their intentions at my expense. Do you think that this is only relating to mosquitoes?
Sounds very familiar, yes. Sounds very familiar.
There's an expectation that I can't control my own reality, and there are things that I could do, but that just makes things worse. I could cover myself up. Yes. I could try to repel them. Oh. The law of repulsion. I could repel them.
Yeah, and I was aware of that this is not the right attitude. I was aware of this is not in the law of attraction.
But isn't it nice that you didn't have to crash your plane to figure this out? Isn't it nice that
it's just
something like that,
yes.
because things aren't happening. In other words, we want you to come to this place of knowing that everything that happens to you is happening because of your point of attraction over which you have control. So it's a changing of expectations. And the reason that more people don't hold intentions or expectations that are more beneficial to them is because they have allowed conditions to train them. So the condition causes you to give it your attention. You giving it your attention causes you to create a pattern of thought. The pattern of thought that you've created causes you to have an experience, and then you don't talk about it until you've had the experience. In other words, you didn't say to us when you sat down, and this is a wonderful thing, you didn't say to us, Abraham, I suspect that I have a point of attraction that I'm really not aware of relative to some things. You said, Abraham, pesky mosquitoes are biting me. But isn't it the same conversation?
Yes.
And don't all of you have some of that kind of conversation in your experience?
And actually, I learned it at school how mosquitoes work. I mean, very early in my childhood, I learned, well, this is what mosquitoes do. And so maybe that's why the expectation is
here's
there.
the thing. You've learned a lot of things from a lot of people for a lot of reasons over a lot of time with a lot of intentions that were in mind. We don't disagree that you've been trained into expectations. Esther argued with us in the
How
beginning.
do I get out of that?
But Abraham, it's true. These are facts that are true.
Yes.
And we said to Esther on many occasions, but it is important to understand how the facts became facts. What is it that causes this co-creation in this way? What is it that causes the co-creation in this way? Now, we just had a conversation a little bit ago about how lovely it is that you're interfacing with people in the way that you are. We've been interfacing with cats, and we're interfacing with mosquitoes, and you're interfacing with each other. But do you or do you not believe? Do you believe, we're asking all of you, do you believe that you can control what comes to you in terms of interpersonal relationships with all things?
Yes.
And so how do you gain that control? By having experiences that cause you to do a better job of exercising your control. By stopping to acknowledge whenever something happens that is something that you want, say to yourself, what kind of expectation was I holding that produced this? Or whenever you're experiencing something that you don't want, stop and ask yourself, it is a simple question, what thoughts was I thinking that caused me to have this experience? And there are some of you, and we can feel it a bit from you, who just really do not believe that if you changed your thought, that the mosquito would not choose you. It feels to you that you have had to adjust your thought to a mosquito who has chosen you. And this is such an important conversation. Don't adjust your thoughts to the conditions, because that's what conditional living is. That's what conditional love is. That's what being out of control is, because you can't control the conditions. Don't adjust your thoughts to the conditions. You're not a conditional liver. You are an unconditional liver. You are one who chooses unconditionally. So the way you do that, your question is a very important one. You start more general. You can't start in a room that is swarming with mosquitoes. That's too hard of a place to do it. You can't control your thoughts under these conditions. You just can't control your thoughts under these conditions. You can't control your thoughts under these conditions. You just can't do it. You can't control your thoughts under those conditions. You can't do it. You can't control your thoughts under those conditions. The conditions control your thoughts. Conditions control your thoughts if the conditions have enough momentum. So you have to start. Are you all right? The conditions will control your thoughts. So you have to start with an earlier thought. It'll be all right. We just want to get your attention.
You have it.
You want to start in an earlier place, like things are working out for me, and I'm getting really good at thinking on purpose. And of course, there are conditions that have sort of trained me. And a lot of the conditions that have trained me are conditions that I want to continue to perpetuate, because it's turning out in the ways that I am appreciating.
There's a lot of that, yes.
Yes, but some of my conditional thinking, I can do a better job of, but I can't do it in the middle of the flurry. It's like the story, our favorite story is if you're at the top of the hill and you decide that you'll test gravity and learn about momentum, so you take your car out of gear and you take the parking brake off and you just nudge it a little bit from behind, and the car begins to move very slowly at first. And then you realize what is going to happen if you allow the momentum to continue. And so you step right in front of it, and the car just bumps up against you. Easy to stop momentum in the early stages, but you wouldn't want to be at the bottom of the hill trying to stop that momentum. And so by the time the mosquitoes are after you, there's enough momentum that that's not the best time to do it. We would cover up. We just would. Because here's the thing. Take the path of least resistance. So we're asking you, what is the path of least resistance? There's a handful of mosquitoes in the room, and you're naked on the bed. And every time it has been like that, the mosquitoes have given you some grief. So what's the path of least resistance? Right there in that moment. This is such a good conversation. What's the path? Is the path of least resistance to get right to the heart of it? Is the path of least resistance to control the mosquitoes in the room? Is the path of least resistance to kill all the mosquitoes in the room or in the world at the resort? Or is the path of least resistance to cover up? What's the path of least resistance?
Cover up.
But now you've covered up. You've found a path of least resistance, but then you wanted to put more resistance in your path. Now I'm hot. Well, don't cover up with the comforter. Cover up with the sheet. Cover up with something softer. Yes. Turn off the lights. Turn a light on the other room. Give the mosquito another path of least resistance. In other words, all kinds of things will come to you as you're seeking the path of least resistance. This is a new orientation for a lot of you because you've been trained to believe that your value is in finding problems and solving them. And sometimes you make problems bigger than they need to be because when you solve big problems, they make monuments for you. Da 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 da. Solving little problems that are only important to you doesn't get much applause. And so that's part of the reason that conditions seem important to you. But if you just take things as they come and ask yourself, what is my path of least resistance? Let that be your question a lot, especially in these days. What is the path of least resistance? Is the path of least resistance? What's the path of least resistance? And here's the part that you're not doing yet, but we so want you to do. Sometimes you do it, sometimes you don't do it. Here's the thing that we want you to do. Give yourself a break about taking a path of least resistance. Why take a hard path? Ask yourself, why am I taking a hard path? Because I was told the universe does not revolve around you. Yes, it does. I was told that no gain ever comes without pain. That isn't true at all. I was told that you have to pay a price. You have to go after what you want. You've sort of been trained into something that defies the law of attraction. So as you start orienting yourself about this path of least resistance, and on these things that seem nitpicking, they seem nitpicking, but they are manifestations that show you that you could change your vibrational frequency by changing your mood, by changing your attitude, by becoming friends with yourself and with your universe and with your environment, by acknowledging that things are always working out for you, by looking forward to co-creating. It just gets better and better and better until you'll be telling a story not so long from now that mosquitoes taught you the most important thing that you think you ever could have learned. And that is that trying to control the environment around you is going about it the hard way. And that controlling the environment within you is everything. Because everything on the planet responds to that vibrational frequency of the environment that you have created. No exceptions. Yeah.